This is ugly. No, not me, this. The last Nintendo Direct, Nintendo officially announced a very long-awaited remake for one of the greatest games of all time, Ocarina of Time. And if you're anything like me, your reaction to the trailer was probably something like this. Okay, looks pretty cool so far. Bro, what is that? Hey, I mean, maybe it's just me, but my first reaction to this was really just my excitement turning into complete disappointment when I saw that 3D model of Link. And at least based on this trailer that they just showed us, which is all we have to go off of right now, I am worried about this game turning out super ugly. And surprisingly, I haven't really seen much backlash on this decision, other than those TikToks that say it looks like that Focus M Unreal Engine Mario game. And sure, maybe those jokes are kind of an over-exaggeration, but I mean, I kind of agree. It really seems like they're going for this like hyper-realistic Unreal Engine 5 kind of look, and I really don't think that's a good direction for this game. I think that going for this hyper-realistic art style really just destroys the entire like original art direction of the game. Over the years, I've always seen these Unreal Engine remakes, including Ocarina of Time. I've seen Mario ones, Zelda ones, even Donkey Kong 64, which Nintendo, please make a Donkey Kong 64 remake. But what I think all of these have in common is that they completely erase the original charm that the games had. They also tend to really overdo it with the lighting to make it prettier, I guess, but to me it just looks uglier. Mostly there's just too much like bloom or something and it just makes it look really weird. And with this lighting, instead of making the game look cool, high quality, or professional, it just makes it look like Unreal Engine lighting slop. I've always thought these projects were cool when I saw them. I mean, I'm sure they took a lot of time, made by one person, but at the same time, they're just kind of ugly. And that's not like to discredit anyone's work, because I'm sure a lot of work went into it and it's still really cool to see, but I just don't think they look great visually. Now, I know these are just fan projects, probably made by one person, and Nintendo could obviously do a lot better. They have a lot more money and resources to do so. But I do think they are still a good example for what happens when you try to make things that are meant to be cartoony and more stylized to look hyper-realistic. And I mean, Ocarina of Time has never been a realistic game. I mean, we have fish people, rock people, weird monsters, and whatever that thing is. Sure, maybe at the time the graphics might have been considered realistic, but they're not now, and the game that people grew up with does not have realistic graphics, and that's not what we remember it as. So what's the need of changing the art style into something that it was never really meant to be? I think these days people are really quick to make the quality of a game's graphics be just about how realistic it looks, and it's kind of killing the uniqueness of games. I mean, look back at the old games like PS2, GameCube, even Nintendo 64 era. They weren't able to do things like get super high quality textures or super detailed facial animations into the games back then, so it left the games with more of a unique feeling because of the need to stylize every single game. Whereas these days, most AAA companies are using Unreal Engine 5, which makes all the games kind of look the same, especially when it comes to stuff like the lighting. Now of course, that doesn't go for all games, and certainly not for the majority of Nintendo games. Just look at Mario Odyssey, Donkey Kong Bonanza, or even Breath of the Wild. These games don't look great because they're on a powerful console, or because they're using an engine with amazing lighting or super detailed and realistic environments. They look good because they're stylized and unique and have their own sense of identity through the art. And there's no reason at all that Ocarina of Time Remake couldn't have its own distinct style as well. But it seems like they just want it to look as realistic as possible. They're even doing that with the new Star Fox game, and I just find they all look really weird. It's not really feeling like a Nintendo game or even a game in general. It's more like those live action remake slop movies like The Lion King. And then when you look at the exact same character in the Mario movie, it looks so much cooler. Going back to Zelda, it's not like there hasn't been remakes of Zelda games before. I mean, Ocarina of Time itself had one on the 3DS. Now sure, back then there wasn't even the possibility to do something realistic on the 3DS's hardware. But I mean, does this not look better than this? Even look at Young Link's model in Smash Ultimate. It's still high quality, still looks great, but at the same time, it doesn't lose the art style or the charm that the original character in Ocarina of Time had. Ocarina of Time on 3DS isn't the only example of keeping the art style intact when remaking a Zelda game either. Look at Wind Waker HD. That game looks incredible, and it didn't have to change everything about the game's art style in order to do so. It still retains the original cartoony, cel-shaded art style that the original game had, while also adding a bunch of nice things that it did kind of need, like graphical improvements, higher quality textures, and amazing looking lighting. And that's really all they have to do with this Ocarina of Time remake. Give it higher quality textures, give it higher poly character models, and give it some nice lighting, and boom, perfect game right there. Even Breath of the Wild, even though it leans a bit towards more a realistic style, it still has its own unique look, and most of the realism comes from the world itself, not so much the characters. And Breath of the Wild is a very pretty looking game. It's one of those games that always has you going around like, wow, look at that. And it's definitely not because it's super realistic. I mean, this game was running on the Switch, and the Switch is not a powerful console. So, where does that game's good looks come from? Realism? No, 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 no. It's from the style. And I won't sit here and pretend that Zelda has never tried to go for the realistic approach. I love Twilight Princess, and even though it does lean a bit more towards realism, I would still argue it has its own distinct style. Maybe it's just in retrospect, I mean, low poly is a whole style in itself these days, and I mean, back then it was really all they could do. And let's be real, this game doesn't look amazing, but when it does look good, it's not because of the graphical capabilities or the power of the console, it's because, again, of the style. And that's my main concern with the new Ocarina of Time remake. The Switch 2 is not super powerful. I know that technically it's about as powerful as a PS4 Pro, but we live in a time where we're getting closer to like the PS6 and a game like GTA 6 where it can look like this. And if that's the case, what's the point of going for a more realistic look on a less powerful console? I mean, it's gonna look dated before the game even has time to age, because the Switch 2 just isn't powerful enough to compete with other consoles that have games that do look realistic. That's why Nintendo needs to make this game stylized in some way. And at least from the first glimpse we got of this game, it doesn't look like we're getting that. At least for me, the distinct look Nintendo games have is what makes me want to play them more. I mean, if Donkey Kong looked like some realistic gorilla, would the game really be that fun anymore? Or would the character even be cool? I really don't think so. It just kind of sucks to see Nintendo shy away from what makes them unique in this like vast sea of games that all look identical to each other. And realistically, the preview they did show to us isn't even going to be actual gameplay footage, so the game's going to probably look even worse than that does. I mean, I do hope I'm wrong in that this remake does look great. I've been waiting for this game for a long time, and Ocarina of Time is probably one of my top 5 games of all time. But if I'm wrong, well, I'm kind of terrified to see what this guy's gonna look like.